So, hello everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of our Barbieri series. In this episode, we're going to take a deep dive behind the scenes and chat with Maestro Boyajan and Maestro Buck, who have been doing not only the conducting and music direction for the project, but also taking on the role of stage director, video editor. It's like they have the whole industrial light and magic studio on their laptops and desktops. So welcome, gentlemen. How are you?
Thank you. Doing well. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Glad to have you all here. So it's a little bit of a role reversal. Typically you're on the podium in the pit, on one side of the action, and I can say from having worked with both of you, in the relationship of stage director with conductor, you're both very dramatically minded. You're not conductors who don't think about drama and don't think about storytelling. It's very clear that the text, the music, the drama, the musical poetry, the physical poetry. You're aware of all of that, and if you had, if you could clone yourselves, you could probably do both jobs of conductor and stage director and pull it all together. So now, in the virtual realm, you don't get to clone yourselves, but you get to learn all kinds of new skills with video editing. So, Domenico, maybe you could start this. The idea for this project, it came from you. So explain how it came to be and what led you to discovering this project.
Well, we got thinking that the wheel needs to be reinvented, given circumstances, and plus we cannot stay away from music. Plus, our audience wants to hear from us in the realm of things that we know how to do best, and that is music. Is definitely not me talking, but us making music. So we just needed to really come up with how do we do a production of something where there's no one touching one another or standing and singing in the same room, and the only way we could do it is virtually, and we just had to figure out a way how to do it, because it's not only never done before, but I've never done it. You, Scott, have never done it like to this extent. Dean, you have never done it this way. So we just really needed to squeeze our creative beings and come up with something. So we came up with this, which is a condensed version of a very well-known piece that could actually be produced easily. Let's just put it in quote, easily on screen, and in recording and in rehearsal. And this condensed version, we would divide up in 4, 5, 6 different parts to keep the engagement with the audience, and to give us more time also to work on the backstage stuff, which is the audio editing, which is done by Yong Kwang, to do the video editing, which is done by me, get the recordings from the singers, meet with the pianist, record the pianist. So it's just a whole process, and probably we're going to get to talk about it right now. Dean, is this true?
I'd like to refute everything that Maestro just said there.
Every word of it. Maestro always speaks the truth.
Nice. Was there anything when Dean, when you and Domenico were chatting about it, was there any back and forth of, oh, we could do it this way, we could do it that way, sort of brainstorming about ideas, or were you both in sync or in harmony, if you will, about how this would come together?
I mean,
No
there
pun
was
intended.
a lot of talking about it, and there was kind of a lot of just trial by fire, like see how it goes, because we're operating in a realm that's pretty completely new for us, and I think our thought process was the only way we can figure out how to do it is to do it. Like there's going to be things that don't go perfectly. There's going to be things that we think, okay, next time we're going to do this differently. But unless we actually put something together, especially considering we're going to have an entirely virtual season coming up, you just got to try to do something in order to figure out how to do it. So yeah, I mean, and there's definitely been a lot of behind the scenes work, a lot of computer work that Yong Kwang and Domenico have been doing by far the bulk of. I've been helping out as much as I can. Those who know me that know that me using a computer is like a badger trying to figure out how to swing a golf club. But I'm learning and I'm working, and every day it gets easier.
That's maybe my favorite analogy, at least of today so far. All right, so let's, for everybody who's watching and tuning in, who's been enjoying the series and looking forward to the finale and everything coming up, let's go through the process, because one of the things that we all agreed on in embarking on this was that we would keep it simple, and as we move forward, get more and more complex. But I think even the level of simple, when it comes to things like this, of discovering how you do it for the first time, discovering how you make it feasible, discovering how everything comes together while still maintaining the high musical and artistic standards and the tight ensemble. So let's start from the beginning. So the long process, and we'll go from beginning. We'll go to about the middle, and we'll show Domenico will play a little bit of an example of that, and then we'll talk through what the process looks like to the end. So let's start very beginning. How do you begin this?
Should I go?
Yeah.
So practically speaking, we just Zoom with everyone involved, and we just lay down the ground rules, basically, of how the recordings need to be made, where the camera needs to be placed, microphones, technology, and all of that. So there's a phone call or a meeting just about that. It seems simple, but I think that first day we spoke for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, just about microphone and placement of the camera. What do you have? An iPad, an iPhone? No, I'll do it through my computer. So this is new to everyone. It's not that we were trained to do this. We weren't. And by the way, it's very expensive, because some of these singers had to purchase new equipment, new stands, or a lens or a light or something else to make this work for them and for us. Then there's a second Zoom call for the people involved in episode 1 or 2 regarding musical things. So conductor, either me or Dean for Act 2 proper. We would talk to the singers and ask them, what would you prefer here? And then usually there is a give and take in what we do, but there has to be more of a give and take in this situation, because it's already as difficult as it is. I know that we are probably not going to make music history, and in these circumstances, I think it's okay. It's just about doing what we know how to do best. I think that's our priority, to do it, to present it, and to enjoy it. Because there's many layers, unfortunately, that get cut away, and many emotional layers that we are not able to express through video and through little computer speakers.
Right. And so when trying to keep things together, that to me is, when it's on the night of the performance in a live in venue performance. You know, the director can't do anything, the designers can't do anything. You know, the conductor is the person who would say, "All right, you and the stage manager, you're the ones keeping everything together on that night, right?"
Mhm.
And ensemble and being together is so important. And there's a process that you all have for this that I think makes it as human as it can be. It makes it as, you know, it has as much heart. There's a lot of digital firewalls, literally and figuratively, between you going upbeat sing
Mhm.
um, than there would be in a room. But how is your process of putting this together? Is it a click track that then everybody follows? Does it come from you setting the tempo and the pacing and give and
It's
take? How does that
it's
work?
it's kind of deciding what the tempo is over the phone, and then me meeting with the pianist and conducting and playing at the same time in the same video, based on the conversations that we had with singers,
Hmm.
um, being as clear as possible, even more so than other times. Like we wouldn't necessarily conduct empty bars, but now we have to, just to mark where we are on the score. And a lot of, I don't want to call it unnecessary cueing in live performance is unnecessary cueing, but it's necessary cueing if you have to do it over video. So there's no click track per se, but there's a almost like a human metronome
Hmm.
with some expression
Yeah.
uh, that has to benefit not us, not the orchestra, but only the singers. It's the only way that we can keep it together. And having the piano there
Yeah.
with the visual keeps everything together.
And one thing that Domenico and I have said, like to each other, have been talking about over and over throughout this process is, especially with an opera like Barbiere, in the arie and all the piacere sections and the numbers. Normally, we just follow the singers, and you don't give it a second thought in certain parts because they do their thing, and it's really, we know how to follow them and kind of land together. But with this, it's like we have to cue them, we have to show them everything because we're sending them these videos. So that's definitely kind of a reprogramming of the brain, um, to be able to do that and to think, okay, like I'm actually cueing the singer when they're a piacere. Interesting, cool. And you get used to it, but it's definitely. I mean, this is the third time I've done Barbiere, and I've definitely thought about it a lot differently than the times before.
Yeah, no, definitely. And for those who might be tuning in, because we're hoping to catch some new audience members who will join us, what can you explain? What is a piacere? Like, how does that differ from, you know, a normal instance between singer, conductor, orchestra, and then you have a bar that is a piacere? What does that translate to, and then what does that mean?
Maestro.
A piacere, at pleasure. So like essentially the composer a piacere if the singer does it at their will, however they want to do it, not in time, not with orchestral accompaniment. So typically we just listen to what they're doing and we know when we have to land together. We give the upbeat to get them to land together, and everyone goes about and has a happy day. But with this, obviously, there can only be, um, you
No
know,
one has a happy
ha
day.
ha un po' di piacere.
Un po' di piacere. Ha un piacere digitale. Digital pleasure, according to how those all those confines. So,
Mm.
thanks for explaining that as it goes. I'm sure that's tough from the singer's end. In a former life, I was a singer, and so I could only imagine. You know, you kind of get used to. You know, I'm looking over your head. I'm seeing you out of my peripheral vision. I'm feeling the moment. You know, you're feeling the moment. We might want to stretch it in a given night, but it doesn't matter because the digital downbeat is right where it is. Does that lead to any? I don't know, sometimes I break this down into cooking. I'll say I prefer cooking to baking, not because I don't necessarily like dislike baked goods. I think they're great, but with baking, you got to have everything together, and then you put it in the oven, and you're done. You can't change it, and it might turn out well, and it might not. But with cooking, you can sort of adjust and
Hmm.
add a little, take a little. How does it affect your decision when you're conducting? Because essentially, you decide what the tempi are. You Susan Scheffler has been our pianist for this project. You and Susan get together and you lay that track down, and then the singers have it. And then if you hear it in a rehearsal, you could say, let's go a little faster, or let's go a little slower. Do you ever have that syndrome where it becomes more like baking rather than cooking because you've committed to the tempo? You can't change it. How does that work? Do you take more time
Well,
in
the
deciding?
good thing is that there is still an element of live music going on between conductor and pianist. So we can still do the same things that we would do in a regular performance, where if I need to go faster or slower, or I need to stop, I can still gesticulate as conductor and Italian man. Becomes very easy. And I can give that information to Susan without actually talking to her. The singers see this, the singers hear this, and they can adjust. But these adjustments are so tiny that probably people are the audience is not going to be able to hear it, and it's part. It's okay. I mean,
Mhm.
that means that we are doing our job if they are not able to hear
Totally.
these adjustments.
And then some days, like not you all, because actually you have great consistency, which I know as one who's responsible for producing and managing union costs. It's nice. It's not like, well, one night we're going to be a half hour longer, and another night
Mm.
we're going to be shorter. You're always within just actually a few seconds when you conduct your performances. Sometimes things will change, like in the course of rehearsals. So, have you found, as you're putting this together, maybe you were in a fast mood or a slow mood on the day that you recorded, and then you come back to it once all the tracks are in and think, oh, I'd like it faster or slower, or does that consistency of tempo that you all tend to have, does that help mitigate that type of thing?
Well, I hope this answers your question. Maestro and I will definitely tell you that setting the tempo is probably the most difficult thing to do. Not setting the tempo, setting the right tempo, because there's always one right tempo, and either you get it or you don't, and it's your job to do so, no matter how your day has been going. So it did happen that in episode one, um, I the result was excellent, but I personally wanted things to go a little bit faster. Actually, I'm glad I didn't push things, because virtually speaking, like doing this on the computer, it was going to be a lot more complicated for singers to say and sing uh, words at a certain pace. But I do go back and sometimes just wish the tempo was a little bit. It doesn't. You see, when you're there, you seem to be conducting at the right tempo, and then you hear it as an as the audience, and then it's just not right for you, you know.
Mhm.
Um, it's tempo is very difficult, and I'm I not so humbly, I can tell you that I'm doing well with tempo 98% of the times, but there's
Yeah,
always that 2% that just, come on,
yeah. And,
you
and I,
know.
I could I can imagine that's a challenge because normally, like you said, you could adjust. But nobody would be
That's right.
aware. You
That's right.
you could live say, oh, we're going to tweak this way, tweak that way, and there are times, for those watching along, in a typical process, after we have tech rehearsal, which is if we're opening on a Friday, that's typically Monday night. We'll have two more rehearsals, Tuesday and Wednesday, orchestra dress, and those times are for maestro to get everything together. And the only way that something stops or gets adjusted is if, God forbid, there's a safety issue. Um, so we knocking on wood and touching metal here. We haven't had anything like that, but there have been many times as a director where I'm thinking, "Ooh, I wish I could make a slight adjustment here, but I just have to step back." And so I can only imagine, you get the recordings, and it's maybe one third of the way through the process. We're about to talk about these two thirds, but you get that, and then you say, "All right, well." I can't just speed it up or slow it down a little bit, so let me move that off my realm of possibilities. But speaking of your realm of possibilities, what goes into this next two-thirds? And I think a good way to see that would be, I think you've got a clip, Maestro, that you could share, and
Yeah.
you can kind of take us through. So Maestro conducts, Susan plays, that's recorded. That file, video, audio file, is sent to all of the singers in various locations. They watch it, study it, practice. They set up their camera, their mic, their lighting. They record, have to get it all preciso and perfect and precise and beautiful. They send those files back. The audio gets taken from those files and edited. That audio is one lined up file. But then, Maestro, what do you do? How do you take all of those video files and get
Yeah.
them together?
So there's actually one step before that, and that I'm going to let Dean talk about, and that is the syncing between the audio file and all the video files. And after Maestro is done with that, I'm going to show you just a little clip and kind of explain how things line up.
Yeah, so once we get everything for a certain episode back from the singers, which is their videos of them singing over top the audio track, Yong Kwang Yu, our friend, associate, partner in crime, he takes care of putting all of the audio tracks together into one track. So he has to, like for the finale, you have 11 tracks that you got back, and he has to put all of those audios into one track. So that always takes at least a few days to get done. Once we have that audio track, he sends that to us, and we take care of syncing the video tracks to the audio. Because one character may have let 5 seconds go by after they hit record before they started singing. Another character might have had 3 seconds. Another character may have had 11 seconds. So we need to make sure their video is completely synced with the audio, which we do by inserting the audio track. We've just been using iMovie. Kind of a blank title slide, so any changes done to the video don't also happen to the audio, and then you just kind of move it until it sounds completely uniform. There's no Borg effect for any Star Trek Next Generation fans, in terms of like sounding like multiple voices, and then once it's done, we save it. And then we do that with every track. Some things like the finale, there are 13, we split it into 13 tracks. So in the event a singer makes a mistake 16 minutes into a 17-minute number, they don't have to go back to minute 1 and re-record their entire thing. So we line up all the different tracks for a number, get it all set, and then upload it to the same Google Drive, to which Maestro takes it from there.
And then, should I continue? And then I take all these singer tracks with the one single audio track. So the single audio track is the base for everything, and I lay all the video tracks on top of that. And at some point, I had 13 of them on at the same time. So Final Cut did a good job in being able to handle all of this data. So let me share my screen real quick. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So in this case, this is what just went on last week. Is the finale to our episode 3, the finale to Atto Primo, first act. Conte's drunk, so he can be alone on let's say on stage, but then Bartolo also comes in, so you would have two tracks, one on top of another, and just choose which one you want to show at any given period. Okay, so this is kind of the easy part when it goes from one to the other. Things get complicated when the two singers are singing to each other. There's a few things going on here at the same time. This, can you see my cursor? Or
yes.
No?
Yes.
Okay, so this box was trimmed and cut. This this square where Bartolo is was trimmed and cut, then you have to move him to where you like him, and you also have to add a background, because you wouldn't want just black to be in the back. It's just it's not pretty. This is another effect where they weren't necessarily matching the sides where one gives the letter and the other one takes it. Okay, so what I did, I tried to make this letter end in the center of the shot by zooming in to that shot. And I also had to move Bartolo to the center of the shot, so it seems like he is picking up the letter where the Conte left off. And the result is close to what we would want it to be. So let's look at it here for a second. So he gives the letter, you zoom in, it ends up in the center, and he picks it up, and he is not happy. So these are like little tricks, but if we continue real quick, Rosina gets in the picture. Again, this is easy to put together. It's one or the other. But then again, when you have 3 tracks, you have trim, cut, move, background, and all of these videos have to sync, because sometimes they don't. As you can see, this is some of the same. Scott, if you want to interrupt me, please.
No,
please
it's good. No, it is what we want, this kind of behind the scenes view to see how all this comes together. This is great.
Same thing here. How do you fit 5 people on screen? This is nothing complicated. To me, the important thing was to make it look as good as possible. But if you see at the bottom screen, you have Berta and you have Basilio. How are the 2 boxes forward and the other 3 boxes above backwards? Well, that depends on where the track is laid in the program. So if you want them forward, that means that you have to move the track all the way to the top. And if you want the boxes backwards, you have to move those tracks at the bottom of the program. So it's a little bit of a process. And I think that visually it's nice here. It's kind of nicely organized, and it looks like they are singing to each other and to us at the same time. The frame is cut equally between them. This is where she's sad and where she's crying, and a lot of people had a lot of expressions, so I had to find a way to have everyone kind of react to her sadness. And the last shot is Bartolo that sings to her. So you kind of have to perfectly time it to when Bartolo, basically you have to base the timing on Bartolo's entrance and then work backwards from there. Conte is angry at Bartolo, and then everyone is saying they are all fighting with one another. In fact, Figaro is about to enter the stage. How do we make him enter virtually? Well, he's in the background right now, and he's about to sing, and every box disappears, and that's when Figaro comes to life. He enters the stage, and there's no other way to do it but like this. I don't know if you noticed, there was a cut between takes, and the way I managed it is to put a transition, so it's not obvious that there's a cut from one video to another. And if you look at him, he has 2 different expressions from here to here. So it kind of takes your eyes off of him for a little bit, and it keeps your eyes on the transition, and you don't notice that it's at least that's the goal. You don't notice that we are going from one track to another. Let's move forward. Here they are all singing together. They are fighting. Obviously, Bartolo is the star because everybody is against him. Somebody knocks at the door, and it's the police. Everybody's scared, and he's crying or worried. And I put like a filter and a transition, and I changed a little bit of the color. And he's asking who is knocking right now. So it seems like he's sweating a lot, not crying, but he's sweating a lot. And then the police, I decided to put like a security video filter because it's the police, and as you see them dressed with you know, like bodyguards and sunglasses, I think it's funny. And these are the things that we can go for when someone's at home and we have to do it virtually, entertain at the same time, you know. So let's move forward. This is when everybody has had an opinion of what went on, and the police is asking what's going on. So everyone is coming up with their own version of the facts. In fact, the boxes are just appearing because somebody's just started talking, and this is just signifying confusion. To do something like this is time consuming. I want to say that this took me to do, let me see, to do this bit starting from here, I want to say probably, also because I'm not, you know, this is not my job to be a video editor. This took me probably 4 hours just to do these 20, 30 seconds. You got to move the boxes. You have to sync them with the video. There's a lot of cutting the shots. It gets complicated. This is just a simple transition. Let's go a little bit toward the end. So basically this is more of the same, a little more confusion. And you can show it by taking these boxes and making them appear and disappear. And yeah, if you just if we want to watch a little bit of the finale here. Here, I wanted to add something, so like moving right to left and left to right, just to keep the things moving, because this finale is really moving. I didn't want just a screenshot on. And what to do at the end is making them disappear in order of importance in the opera. But together with the music. So that was like 10 days of work. 17 minutes. But it's fun to do. It's fun to do. It's yeah. I'm trying to make it as engaging as possible.
And it's looking great. I mean, it's what struck me as you were talking through there. I mean, I hope that everybody watching is finding it fascinating, getting the behind the scenes glimpse. But you know, you're talking through the precise things that we deal with. You know, with storytelling in the theater. You know, it's digital, but oh wait, here's a weird transition. We need to do something visually to distract, you know, and sometimes that can be, what did we did, we all worked together on a production of The Rake's Progress, where, you know, we had certain characters in bed get covered with the sheet, and then there's no trap door, there was no magic. You know, we didn't have $1 million for the budget. So what we did was create visually distracting things, and it was as simple as the people under the sheet got off the bed, they snuck out into the dark, somebody else came in, got in, and then boom, new character. So, you know, doing a similar thing with a different filter and splitting up the screen into 5,
Yeah.
and then, you know, it pulls our attention. Or, you know, like you mentioned with you didn't want just a screenshot of the people on stage, you know, in the finale, and, you know, there's a little bit of motion.
Yeah.
You know, that usually leads, you know, us stage directors in something especially like Rossini, where we're thinking, okay, wait, we have to have some visual element so that it's not concerto there with, you know, the people lined up across the proscenium and just singing. So it was really cool to see, you know, to see you talk through that in terms of how that's playing itself out digitally.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when people can't move, you are the one that has to move. And if you don't have a camera that moves, then you have to do it all kind of behind the scenes digitally with whatever program you're using, you know.
Yeah. But this, you know, this is exciting. And I hope, like we talked about at the beginning of the process, you can see there are a lot of things that go into it. And so while it's high level and it's beautiful and it sounds great and it's engaging visually, you know, we'll keep diving more deeply. So I've got my director brain around green screens and backgrounds and all the stuff we normally project, you know, in the theater and create. You know, we can really dig into that. So we'll be working months and months and months. So it'll be great. But I hope that you're all enjoying. And also, I hope that you look down below and click the subscribe. We were watching that on YouTube. You're watching this on YouTube, so please subscribe to our channel. Please be sure to donate. As Maestro said, that 17 seconds took about 4 hours, and like everybody, we're struggling, but we definitely need your support. So no amount is too small. Every little bit helps support the work that we're all doing and the artists who are working with us, and trying to still bring you the highest quality opera and entertainment that we can. So, Maestri, thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Great to see you. Everybody who's tuning in, thank you. Any parting words or parting thoughts of little things that people should look for in the upcoming, and any what do they call it now, Easter eggs that they should keep an eye out for?
Maestro, it's your turn. I spoke too long.
Easter eggs. If you look at 3 minutes and 42 seconds in the finale, you'll see a giraffe run by with.
So look for it.
Kidding. No, just thank you, and please, you know, check out what we got going on. You know, we're doing this. You know, we're kind of learning on the fly how to do this, and it's been a really fun process. And as much as we would just love nothing more than to be back in a theater, doing what it is we do with people in the flesh. You know, unfortunately, we can't do that. So it's figure out what we can do, because we're not going to stop trying to bring art to all of you any way that we can. So, you know, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking it out. Keep doing so, and we'll keep doing our thing.
Well said. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you soon.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.